about mental health, I think about my grandmother. She lives with bipolar disorder, and although we now talk about it openly at home, outside our walls, her distress went unseen. And today, it still does for millions. Mental illness is a very complex and multifaceted issue, but in breaking down why it still feels out of reach for so many Americans, I'd like to cover 3 things. 1, the scale of this often silent mental health crisis. 2, why cries for help can go unheard. And 3, what we can do to change course. To start, how vast is this crisis? Mental illness affects millions, yet remains consistently underestimated and underfunded. When distress isn't listened to or accounted for, it can lead to devastating consequences. According to the World Health Organization, people with severe mental illness die, on average, 15 years earlier than the general population. And each year, over 700,000 lives are lost to suicide. Yet the numbers that we invest into mental health care simply don't stack up. According to the Lancet Commission, governments dedicate only 2% of their health budgets to mental illness. And in low-income countries, that disparity is even starker. In developing nations, the average expenditure per person on mental health care was just 2 cents. Just 2 cents invested in depression and anxiety treatment. The human cost and economic imbalance of that alone is staggering. But why can cries for help go unheard? It often comes down to 3 interconnected ways. First, across cultures, people express distress differently. I know that the night before a chemistry exam, I can feel my heart pounding. It's hard to sleep, and my head hurts. These are known as somatic symptoms of distress, and in many cultures, such as in Asian ones, psychological signs of distress can manifest physically. You might be feeling fatigue, or loss of energy, or having trouble sleeping. When these cultural differences aren't recognized as signs of mental distress, people can leave misdiagnosed or untreated completely. Another key reason why mental illness is such a looming issue is because people aren't seeking out help. And across ethnicities, these disparities vary. According to Pew Research Center, just last year, of those with mental illness diagnosed, only 46% of white Americans accessed any treatment, with just 23% of Black Americans and 18% of Asian Americans doing the same. Clearly, we need culturally specific solutions, or at least solutions that make people feel comfortable enough to seek help. Because we know the benefits when people are treated for mental illness. Therapy and medication, when effective, can halve symptoms, restore work and school performance, and help people believe and rebuild their daily lives. And finally, many of our help channels remain siloed and isolating. Think to who you would reach out to if you were feeling distress. Maybe it's a friend, a parent, a coworker, maybe it's even the person sitting right next to you. But to reach out to a mental health professional, many of those solutions feel far. Whether it's logging into a telehealth platform, calling or texting 988, or even entering a therapist's office, to reach a mental health professional, oftentimes we have to leave our daily routines and fight stigma to seek help. This makes it much harder to comfortably get better. So what are the benefits, and what can we do to change course? Firstly, economically, when treated individuals are treated for mental illness, we see a great spark in economic growth. The Lancet Commission found that for just $1 invested in mental health care, we see $4 in returned productivity and reduced healthcare costs. Secondly, socially, treated individuals report drastically better functioning. One study found that when people are treated for severe mental illness, they miss 50% fewer or less workdays and experience significant drops in homelessness and substance misuse. saving communities millions of dollars a year. And finally, addressing mental illness shrinks the 10 to 20-year mortality gap, giving people longer lives. Now, addressing mental illness is a complicated task, but it often requires 3 key pillars to overhaul. First, we have to listen in more languages. One easy way to do this is to train normal people to help. In countries like India, people train faith leaders, coaches, teachers, and even parents to recognize expressions of distress, like "my heart feels heavy" or "thinking too much." This way, professionals are able to better connect with regular people, since they already are in the community. Secondly, we have to invest equitably. This means shifting at least 5% of our health budgets to mental health care. And finally, we have to integrate support into everyday environments. We have to show support where people actually go. This could mean showing support in temples, churches, mosques, even grocery stores. Wherever people are, we need to make sure that we're delivering care. Doctors in countries like Sweden treat mental health checks as routinely as blood pressure ones, and we should do the same. In closing, we now are faced with a new path. We can either let another generation of Americans suffer in silence, or we can choose something completely different. We can listen in more languages, embed support in familiar places, and make sure that we invest equitably. If we do these things and treat phrases like "my heart feels heavy" as plainly as any vital sign, we will make sure people live healthier, happier, and longer lives. Let's make mental health just health.